presentation of AIT.
Jamal.
Hi, Linda.
Come on in. Let me take your coats.
Okay.
It was great of you all to come. Gloria is going to be so glad to see you. You know where the family room is. Why don't you all make yourselves at home, and I'll hang these up.
Okay. So, how are you?
Well, we're doing okay, but Gloria, not so good.
Well, we've missed her.
Oh, I wish I could get her to go back to school and the after-school program. I just think it would do her so much good.
How long's it been since her grandmother died?
A week. And my husband's back at work, and she was his mother.
But Gloria was very close to her.
Oh, very. You know, Gloria was named after Grandma, and they shared that, and so many other things.
Do you think maybe we could see her, please?
Oh, of course. Gloria! Jamal and Rebecca are here. Gloria! Excuse me?
Hi.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi, Gloria.
How about a snack? Let me get you something to eat.
I'm not hungry.
Well, hon, maybe your friends are.
So, how you doing?
How do you think I'm doing? My grandma died.
That really hurts. I know how you must feel.
How would you know?
Well, Gloria, as a matter of fact, my sister died last year of AIDS. She was a great person. A teacher. She was only 31 years old. When she died, I kind of wanted to die myself.
I've been feeling that way too. About my grandma. Like, maybe if I die, I could be with her.
Right. Only it doesn't work that way, does it?
No. And it makes me so mad.
Do you remember in 2nd grade when my cousin Tara was in that car crash? Her head was hurt really bad, and they knew she couldn't get any better. But she didn't die right away. We all knew she was gonna die, but there wasn't anything we could do about it.
That's how it was with my sister. It really feels awful.
Yeah, and my uncle, Tara's dad, he spent most of his time in the hospital, in the waiting room, kicking the furniture.
Well, when someone you love dies, it's normal to feel angry.
Like with me, I mean, I felt so awful about my grandma dying, and I don't understand why it had to happen.
And you feel helpless. And not being able to do anything about it makes you mad.
Here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looks great, Linda.
Thanks. Gloria, why don't you try a sandwich, honey?
No thanks, Mom. I'm really not hungry.
I remember feeling that way when my sister died. I didn't want to eat, didn't want to sleep.
Didn't have any energy.
If you don't have any energy, it's probably because you're not eating and sleeping.
He's got a point.
Absolutely. In fact, I'd say he's a genius.
Okay, Mom. I'll give it a shot.
Thanks.
Not a problem.
Sometimes when you're grieving, you don't feel like eating. And it may be hard to sleep, but to keep your strength up, you've really got to try. And you ought to try to talk about your feelings. Gloria, why don't you tell us a little bit about your grandmother?
I don't really feel like it.
Oh, honey.
Why should I? What good will it do? It won't make Grandma come back.
That's true, but it might help you.
Show her the book.
What book?
Oh yeah, we brought a book we thought you might like. It's called Annie and the Old One.
Look, I appreciate it, but books can't change the world.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, Annie and the Old One by Miska Miles. Annie's Navajo world was good. A world of rippling sand, of high copper-red bluffs in the distance, of the low mesa near her own snug hogan. Best of all were the evenings she sat at her grandmother's feet and listened to the stories of times long ago. Sometimes it seemed to Annie that her grandmother was her age. There were other times when her grandmother sat small and still, and Annie knew that she was very old. Then Annie would cover the thin knees of the old one with a warm blanket. It was at such a time that her grandmother said, "It is time for you to learn to weave, my granddaughter." Then the grandmother spoke softly. "My children, when the new rug is taken from the loom, I will go to Mother Earth." Annie shivered and looked at her mother. Her mother's eyes were shining bright with tears that did not fall, and Annie knew what her grandmother meant. The old one spoke again. "You will each choose the gift that you wish to have." "What will you have, my granddaughter?" the grandmother asked. She looked at the weaving stick propped against the wall of the hogan. This was the grandmother's own weaving stick, polished and beautiful with age. Annie looked directly at the stick. As though Annie had spoken, her grandmother nodded. "My granddaughter shall have my weaving stick." The weaving of the rug was high on the loom. It was almost as high as Annie's waist. Her grandmother would go back to the earth when the rug was taken from the loom. The rug must not be finished. When night came, she curled up in her blanket, but not to sleep. When everything was still, she slipped from her blanket and crept outside. For a moment, she stood waiting until she could see in the night. She went to the loom. Slowly, she pulled out the strands of yarn, one by one. The next night, Annie removed another day's weaving. The third night, Annie crept to the loom. A gentle hand touched her shoulder. "Go to sleep, my granddaughter," the old one said. When the morning came, Annie unrolled herself from the blanket and helped prepare the morning meal. Afterward, she followed her grandmother through the cornfield. "My granddaughter," she said, "you have tried to hold back time. This cannot be done. The sun comes up from the edge of the earth in the morning. It returns to the edge of the earth in the evening. Earth, from which good things come for living creatures on it. Earth, to which all creatures finally go." They walked back to the hogan together, Annie and the old one. Annie picked up the old weaving stick. "I am ready to weave," she said to her mother. "I will use the stick that my grandmother has given me." She knelt at the loom. She separated the warp strings and slipped the weaving stick in place, as her mother had done, as her grandmother had done. She picked up a strand of gray wool and started to weave.
My grandmother was like that. She knew she was going to die. Not the exact day or time or anything, but after she came home from the hospital, for the last time, she knew it would be soon.
She had cancer. They tried everything. Surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, even special herbs and diets. It was hard on her. It was hard on the whole family. Finally, she said, "No more. No more hospitals, no more treatments."
She wanted to come home and be with us.
How'd you feel about that?
Well, at first, it was great. She didn't seem sick at all. She did all the things she used to do with me. Took walks, played cards, and read and sang. We both really liked to sing. But then that changed. She was too weak to go for walks, too tired to play cards. Her voice hurt when she tried to sing.
She was dying.
But I didn't want to admit that. I kept telling myself that maybe she just had the flu, and in a few weeks she would be better.
Facing reality is tough, Gloria. Most people have times when they kid themselves, when they deny that anything as serious as death is going on.
But it doesn't work. Just like pulling the weaving out didn't work for Annie in the book.
No, it doesn't. Do you remember what the grandmother said to Annie about trying to hold back time?
This cannot be done. But why? It's not fair. Why did Grandma have to get sick in the first place? And why did she have to be taken away from us?
Nobody really knows for sure, Gloria. People have lots of ideas about it, but the truth is, nobody really knows. And it isn't fair.
You think that's why? Jumbled up with all my other feelings, I feel so mad.
Absolutely.
You remember that bird I had? The parakeet? Squeaky was his name. Well, I loved that bird. I knew he wasn't much. Couldn't talk, couldn't sing. Just kind of molting all the time. But he let me hold him and stroke his little chest. And he'd make those little squeaky noises. Well, one morning, there he was, dead in his cage. His little feet just curled up. There wasn't any reason. Wasn't anyone to blame. I just wanted to haul off and hit someone.
So what did you do?
I pounded in my pillow, and that made me feel a little bit better.
I was at my sister's house when she died. Olivia lived out in the country. And after we spent some quiet time with friends and family, I just went outside and I started to run, and I just ran and I ran until I couldn't run anymore.
Did it help get rid of your anger?
Yeah, it helped.
I felt angry right after my grandma died, but that's not how I feel now.
Which is how?
Tired. Like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to read a book, don't want to wash my hair. I don't even want to run. That's why I haven't been to school.
Well, if you don't mind my saying, Gloria, sounds to me like you're depressed.
Well, wouldn't you be?
Of course, but all I'm saying is there's some things you can do about it.
Like what?
Well, like what you're doing right now. Talking to people who really care about you. Letting them know exactly how you feel. And I think Rebecca's right. You should talk about your grandma.
It's hard. I miss her so much.
Well, when you talk about her, isn't that kind of a way to have her around? I remember that your grandma was a funny lady. Like that Halloween when she dressed up like a clown.
Yeah, and she went around in a big red fake nose and a wig falling off every 5.
What is it, honey?
Is it okay, to laugh about someone when she's dead?
Knowing your grandmother, I'm sure she'd be delighted.
Yeah, she loved a good laugh.
She loved a lot of things. She was that kind of person. But she especially loved you, Gloria.
I was named after her, I don't think I'll ever get over this.
It takes time, Gloria. Months, even years. And in some ways, we never get over the death of a loved one.
Never?
Well, your grandmother, my sister, Squeaky, they'll always be part of us, always in our hearts, and we'll always miss them. When we think of them, we'll still feel some sadness, but we'll also be able to accept it. And more, we'll be able to concentrate on other things, like what we loved about them.
Every time